Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Professor Richard Conroy of Conroy Gold and Natural Resources. How are you today, Richard?
I'm very good today, except somewhat frustrated. We have just this morning announced a major drilling program, 3,000 meters of drilling, which is quite a lot of drilling. And yet that's just in itself only the start of an even greater program, which will run into several millions. And we don't have to contribute to that, by the way. This will be paid entirely by our joint venture partner. And yet I look at our share price and what do I see? Goes up a penny and a halfpenny and comes down a halfpenny. Just absolutely ridiculous at this stage in relation to the financial position that we're in. A financial position in which the joint venture that we've done, it's an earn-in venture. So therefore the partner coming in will be paying all of the costs of drilling, all of the costs of our employees who are engaged in the drilling. All of that is now the responsibility of the joint venture partner, and they have very great financial resources, so that's no problem to them, whatever, as well as that they're very good technical resources. So we have all this, and yet we're at a situation in which the share price is just trivial compared with the market capitalization, which should be represented by this deal. So I am very pleased with the news release we brought out this morning. It's of enormous significance. I'm not pleased with the response. I think it's just ridiculous response, and clearly something has to be done about the market so that they'll realize the potential. We've discovered a whole new district scale gold area covering several hundred kilometers. In the Clontibret area alone, we've already established a resource. The Clontibret area down to about 250 meters is probably 2.5 to 3 million ounces. There's probably a lot more beneath that. And then next door to it, we have Clay Lake, which is much bigger than Clontibret. And as well as that, we've all the rest of the district to look at. We've got a joint venture partner in one of the wealthiest companies in the world. They have ample financial resources, ample technical ability. They will be doing it on an earn-in basis that takes us all the way to the situation in which we're looking at planning permission, looking at a full mining permit. And even then, we're in the situation in which we can retain 40% of it. I can't think of any other exploration company in the last few years that's ended up making a major discovery in which we can retain 40% of it in development stage. So one is really not pleased with our share price today. I think it's just plain ridiculous. I could understand it previously. People may be saying, oh, are they going to finalize the deal or not? Well, the deal has been signed. That was 31st of December. Is it going ahead or not with the drilling? Well, the drilling is going ahead on a major basis. That's what we've announced this morning. And yet no reflection in the share price. It's just ridiculous, and we'll have to consider the situation very carefully indeed. And incidentally, it's horrible what's happening elsewhere, but it's certainly, as regards gold, of course, made it absolutely clear that the price of gold is likely to stay up over the coming years. And we've done all our figures on a very conservative basis. And if there's a further increase in the price of gold, or even its present price, of course, there's an exponential return in value to us. Yeah. So in the situation, major drilling program, major partner, major gold district, I think it's about time we looked at the share price in a much more serious manner than what's happened this morning. It's just ridiculous.
I can sense your frustration and your indignance there. I totally agree. I mean, it beggars belief at times how cheap some of these companies, not just some of these companies, but your company in particular, with, as you say, all these major elements to it. And of course, the announcement today of a step-out drilling program targeted to commence in April at Clontibret, with 8 drill holes planned totaling 3,000 meters. I mean, surely that in itself is a commitment as well. The fact that that's all starting very, very soon.
That it's in itself, that would be quite a significant drilling program, 3,000 meters to be done in the immediate future. By the way, it'll start, as you say, in April. It'll cost at least probably about $500,000 to $750,000, somewhere in that sort of order. And yet it's just the start of an overall drilling program, and which we obviously will be involved in it and considering it and advising and so on, but we don't have to contribute financially. Our joint venture partner is earning in their percentage and therefore will be paying all the costs of the drilling, all the costs, employee costs, all of these costs will be covered for us. And yet at the same time, as well as that, under the terms of the agreement, we'll be getting in due course $1 million coming in, and that's proceeding quite expeditiously as well, far more quickly than we thought it might. That's a transfer of licenses and all that sort of thing. So it's a marvelous position to be in. But I think having made this morning's announcement about the drilling program, really it's time that we look at the market capitalization and what steps we should be taking for the future, because it's not worth 10 million, it's worth tens of millions and perhaps a great deal more. So it's really something which is crying out to be dealt with, and I hope we'll find some way of doing so. But either way, I'm very glad that I have a substantial number of shares myself in it, because it's likely to be worth a great deal of money.
Indeed. And I mean, the scenario is the market did wake up to this before Christmas. Before you signed this contract, we were in the 50s, 50 something pence. Oh. And now you can buy at 22.5p. Effectively, we've just announced 3,000 meters of drilling in Clontibret, and to prove up 2 to 3 million ounces. I mean, there isn't a company in the world that is involved with gold that has that amount, and also a JORC report of over 500,000-600,000 ounces that isn't worth many multiples of what you are worth now. There isn't another comparison. I mean, it just doesn't exist. I mean, we were talking before to Colin Bird about Extract Resources, and we accepted that the amount of gold that they're producing, and they only own 23% of this particular outfit, was probably worth 40 to 50 million pounds on its own without another copper play they have. So I share your indignancy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that the valuation is as it is. There isn't much else you can do. We're waiting for the mint to say yes, and then you'll have €1 million as well on top of that. Me and Phil are actually coming over to you at the end of April, hopefully to see the drilling and to see what's going on.
You're very welcome, and it'll give you an idea, which is the sort of thing that several of the major companies that came to visit us said, that even looking at their computer screens and data available to them, it was really only when they came on site that they realized the sheer magnitude of what we have. So we'll certainly be delighted to see you and show you around. I think you'll find it very interesting. And you'll also get an idea of the sheer potential and size, and why it makes so much sense to bring in a partner with very considerable financial resources, and yet not in any way distracted in the way that some of the major gold companies would have been by having an interest here and an interest there and an interest somewhere else. These people want to get ahead with this, and to get ahead with it now, and hence the drilling program, which we've announced this morning, which is only the start of it.
Yeah, I think what Kevin was alluding to before was actually the Mines Royal options in Northern Ireland, I believe, not the Mint. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the Mines. Speaking, it's the Mines Royal option, the Crown Commission, and that's very advanced. I must say we've had great cooperation from the government and the Republic of Ireland, from the government and the North of Ireland, the regulatory authorities in the UK, and also, I must say, from the Crown Commission. So we expect to complete all this in the pretty early future. I must say I thought it would take far longer, but I don't think so. It'll be all concluded fairly soon, which again is excellent.
Yeah, and the primary objective on the RNS today was related to extending both the lode and stockwork gold mineralization. Do you want to take us through what that actually means in terms of adding value to the assets?
great value of the asset, and one particularly shown in one of the holes that we did with our joint venture partners as part of the due diligence. That hole itself was almost 100 meters of gold, 100 continuous meters, which is a very long stretch of gold. Excellent hole, probably one of the best holes ever drilled, and certainly in these islands, and a good hole by any standards. And that was in what we call the stockwork, which is the sort of the background gold, if you like. And what we'll be doing now with this drilling program, we'll be seeing to what extent does that stockwork extend, because it would be a further great addition to the overall gold resource at Clontibret. And then at the same time, of course, we already know in the lode zones, we've already a JORC resource of over 500,000. So we'll be looking to see how these lodes extend in the immediate vicinity of the resource. But of course, Clontibret extends far more than that. It extends in all directions horizontally, and it is open also if you go down to depth. And these figures that I'm talking about now only refer to 250 meters down. We don't know what's below that. There could be a great deal more, and it could be even better grades and so on. And yet at the same time, and Clontibret is what we're working on first, going to bring in a mine there first, but at the same time, adjacent to it, a few kilometers away, is the Clay Lake property, which is far bigger than Clontibret. And yet these two are only part of the entire new district-scale gold area that we've discovered. So it's even in industry terms, it's getting to be a pretty major component of the gold industry. And this will mean that in Ireland we'll have the International Zinc Province, which we helped to discover, and we'll now have a gold province as well. So it's really tremendous. But as far as we personally are concerned in this company, the share price that we have at the moment is just plain ridiculous, and it's just not acceptable. We'll obviously have to look about it and take what steps are appropriate. But one even is beginning to have a concern that other people will be looking at it who may be perhaps knowledgeable about what it all means. But anyway, there it is. That's what it is. We've now announced that the drilling program is going ahead. This drilling program that we've announced, 3,000 meters, is only, big though it is only a small part of the drilling program which will follow it, which is a multi-million-pound program. And that in turn is leading to a situation in which we'll be looking for a mining permit for Clontibret. We'll be looking in due course, I'm sure, for one for Clay Lake. And of course, we have the entire area. And under the terms of the agreement, of course, we don't have to provide any of the funds. And for each area, Clontibret or Clay Lake, we still end up with the potential of holding over 40%, at 42.5%. So it's an excellent deal financially, it's an excellent deal technically, and it's a deal with a partner who both has the financial resources and also the willingness. This is their expansion outside, so they're concentrating or can concentrate on that, whereas so many other companies, which mightn't be even as good or as big as this one, but nonetheless would have a series of ventures and might be looking at a timetable, whereas this is going ahead right away. The only outstanding feature for completion relates to the Mines Royal options, and that's advancing very rapidly. And that's the final completion on our side. Then to complete on their side, of course, they will be paying us $1 million. And that's over and above all the other funds that are going to be expended. So we're in a very, very good position technically and financially. And certainly the announcement this morning about drilling, I could understand people until we said the drilling program is going ahead, wondering, well, when is it going to go ahead? Well, it's going to go ahead next month in April, and it's going to continue from there.
Let's see what how the market reacts, and we'll be over to see you in a few weeks, and looking forward to results from this drilling, which undoubtedly in the second half of the year is going to be huge numbers of results, showing gold and showing the ability to create even more resource as the year goes on. So,
absolutely.
Professor Richard Conroy of Conroy Gold, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.